welcome to the second episode of Dirty Discussions with Doc. I am really, really excited about this topic that we're going to talk about. It's a little controversial. So my show is controversial as it is. I already know I'm going to get a bunch of judgment. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the judgment. I'm ready for people to talk shit, right? As long as you're watching, I don't care. You can watch and judge if you want to. I'm living my life anyway that you put it, right? But today's episode is a little controversial, and I'm going to be really honest. It's hard for me to have this conversation, right? So the topic of today's discussion is talking to our daughters about sex. Freak out, right? Freak out. I have two daughters, so I'm a single mom. I have two daughters. I have a daughter who is 20 years old now, and I have a daughter who's 10. And the first kid is like your practice kid, right? Like, you know, these kids don't come with instructions. Okay, let's get that out the way. Kids don't come with instructions. Me, myself, personally, I didn't have parents. So I didn't have someone to teach me how to be a mom, right? I didn't have that. So I'm kind of just like winging it and figuring it out as we go along, right? And dealing with circumstances of life and fighting generational curses and still trying to survive and be a parent, right? And it's hard to be when you're a single parent. It's hard to be the nurturer, the provider, and the disciplinarian, right? It's hard to be those things at the same time, you know? So, with that said, I have a very, very special guest today. I am so excited to have this guest on. First of all, she is the prettiest girl in the world. She's super smart. She is me times 10, like the better version of me, because she is my daughter, Alani Sky. So that's my baby.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hi. Hi, baby. All right, so I kind of put her on the spot today, and I brought her on the show. She's 20 years old, right? And like I said, she was like my practice child. She was the first one. And I'm not perfect, and I don't know all the answers to everything. And the reason why I even thought about this episode was because it's so hard to have these sex conversations with your babies. It's hard to have your sex conversations with your baby girls, right? Because as much as we talk about double standards and everything, I think parents have an easier time talking to their boys about sex than girls. It's like, oh, you throw the boys some condoms here, wrap it up. And
So you think if you would have had boys, it would have been an easier...
well, yeah, I think so. Because one,
She's always talking about how she thinks she should have been a boy mom.
I should have been a boy mom.
I kind of agree.
You agree a little bit?
A little bit,
It
yeah.
makes sense, right? It makes sense.
It does make
Right?
sense.
Don't take it personal, I promise. It's not
don't.
about you, it's about me. But I think with boys, it's a little bit easier because you kind of expect boys to be sexually active at young ages, right? Usually when boys are sexually active, everybody's like cheering for them. Oh yeah, my son is a ladies' man and stuff. And with your daughters, you kind of want to protect them and keep them innocent, right?
Facts.
So, as a parent, I want to publicly apologize because I never had the real sex talk with my daughter because I didn't think she was ready for it, right? She never came to me with any like curiosity or questions about it. And I'm gonna give you your time to talk. Right? She never came to me with any curiosity or questions about it, and I didn't think that she was there yet. So I'm like, let me not bring it up because if she ain't there yet, I ain't gonna get her there yet. You know, I'm not gonna rush it, right? If she asks me, I'll tell her. But she never asked me. And then by the time I was ready to have, she was already active. Right? So then it's like, how do I start the conversation now that she's active, right? So this is why I brought my daughter on the show today. Another reason I brought my daughter on the show today is because people are so afraid to talk about sex and it's so taboo that I'm talking to my own child about it to show the comfortability that you need to have, right? And I didn't always have this. I didn't have this on time. I didn't have this when I should have had this comfortability to have this sex talk with her, right? Um, but I'm bringing my own daughter on because if I could talk to my own daughter about this, then you know I have no shame in my game, right? My daughter knows what I do for a living. My daughter knows exactly who I am. And can't nobody tell my daughter anything about me that she gonna be like, yeah, my mom will do that. Or nah, my mom won't do that. Right? So maybe it's not always right. And people could have their opinions. But I'm grateful to know that my daughter knows me for who I really am. And she may not know all the details. She may not know all the details. See, I better not be telling my secrets.
I don't want to
Right?
know. Lord knows.
But but she knows who I am. And can't nobody tell her something. She be like, nah, my mom wouldn't do that. Or my mom, she would do that. Oh, hold on, let me talk to my mom and see if this is right, right? And I think we're at a place now that she can feel that comfortability to talk to me because she done asked me some crazy ass questions, right? So now that I'm done with the intro, we're gonna get into the first segment of the show. You start the timer. First segment of the show is Spill the Kink. All right, Spill the Kink. And this is when we talk about kinky current events. Right? So I didn't tell you anything about this article. Like she just walked into the studio like now. So she had like no time to prepare. Right? But we're gonna talk about Fat Joe today.
Okay.
Fat Joe. So Fat Joe is being sued, right? You know, this whole Diddy thing going on and everything. And I didn't want to touch on Diddy. I may touch on Diddy at another time because I do think that that story is worth talking about. But now that Diddy has been exposed, it's like all these artists are now being exposed. Right, and Fat Joe faces explosive sex trafficking lawsuit from former hype man. And I'm not gonna go into the details. You guys could look up the Fat Joe lawsuit on your own. But the reason why I'm bringing it up today is because he's being accused of having like a 16-year-old girlfriend. And he was paying for her to travel, he was paying her bills and doing stuff. She's only 16 years old. And to me, you know, this article stood out to me and it touched me because I remember being young and I remember I told you guys I had no parents, right? So I remember dating older guys back then and I thought I was cute. And I thought I was slick. And I thought I had these dudes taking care of me and buying me nice things and taking me nice places. And I was young, right? I was about 15, 16 years old. I worked at a bar when I was 15. The owners didn't know. They thought I was 18. I lied. I lied about my age. I dated older men and I lied about my age. I'm telling you this on the screen now, right?
Nothing new.
But I was young. I had no parents. I had no guidance. My parents couldn't provide for me. And I thought I was getting over on those men. But now I'm 42 years old. And when I think back, I was like, damn, I was a little girl. And even though I thought I was getting over, those men were taking advantage of me. Because what the hell does a 25, 30-year-old guy want with a 15, 16, even 18-year-old? Because they may have thought I was 18 at the time if I lied. Right? And this is me being completely transparent. Right? So, what do you think about that? Because you're young.
About the Fat Joe situation or
Just a Fat Joe situation or just young girls in general dating older guys for their money.
Well, I think that, like you said, you thought that you were getting over on these guys when in reality that they were getting over on you. But I think it kind of goes hand in hand because I think there are benefits to both sides of the coin. I think the young girl thinks, "Oh, I'm getting ahead on this guy. He's giving me this, that, and third. And now at this day and age with TikTok and Instagram, a lot of the girls think it's cute to be like that, and they think it's a goal, and that's how they gotta find their way. But with the men, they also they know what they're doing. Rich men, they got the money for it, they don't care. So I think that it's a prominent issue, but it's never gonna change. And I think that young girl knew exactly what she was doing the same way that he knew exactly what he was doing.
So you don't feel that even though the young girl knew better, or she thought, because I feel young people think they know everything at the time, right? She thinks she knows what she's doing. You don't think that this older person should be like, nah, like Fat Joe got kids around this age now.
Right.
You don't think he should be like, nah, like, how I'm a 40-something-year-old woman. My mindset with a even 20-year-old guy is like, I feel like I'm like, nah, you could talk to my daughter. Like, I could be your mom. You know, like mentally, we don't have anything in common. Life experiences, we don't have anything in common. I cannot see myself dating a child.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. What I said doesn't justify the fact that it's disgusting.
Disgusting.
It is nasty. It's not something that should be
Look in the camera,
normalized
baby.
and that should be okay.
She's so pretty, right? That's my baby.
This is not something that should be normalized or what should be okay in the eyes of a 50, 40-year-old man or a 16 to 18-year-old girl. Like, it's not something that should be okay. However, skip the money factor. We have poor homeless men doing the same thing to young girls. It's just a mindset. It's sick, and it's things that people do. But it's been going on for so long. It's never gonna change. Back in the day, they used to marry off 15-year-old girls,
13-year-old girls.
yeah,
To
13-year-old
old
girls to
men.
old men. They had to be pregnant as soon as they got married. Like, this is something that has been going on, and that's why it's not a situation that is more prominent in the world, that is looked at by government. Like, we need to figure out, we need to make sure that these young people understand that that's not okay. It's not a situation that's viewed like that because it once was okay. And the people in power, people in power.
People in power like what they like, and they're gonna do what they want.
Right.
So for me, it was always important to make sure that you wasn't impressed by money and stuff like that. So I remember, like, even when you were younger and you would ask me for certain sneakers or certain stuff, it's like I felt a little bit like, yo, I gotta make this happen for my daughter because I don't want her to ask nobody for it.
I never thought, I was never impressed by money. Ever. I was, money. It's money's money. I would love money. Give me some money, But I have always thought, and you can vouch for this, I have always thought older men were creepy.
Creepy.
To this day.
I'm glad she thinks that way. I'm so glad. I am glad.
this
So
day-
relieved. So relieved to hear this.
No, seriously, to this day,
That's how true it is.
I don't like when, like, older men or even men my age, they just make me uncomfortable. Like, why you want to hug me? Why you want to talk to me? Why are you looking at me? Please stop.
I mean, you are beautiful.
No, but it's just, it's something, it's a mindset that I've always had, that I think you definitely assisted with that kind of mindset. I've never been like that.
But you never lacked anything either.
Exactly.
So nobody could really, and I made sure that, like, nobody could come and impress my daughter and give her something she knows she could get it from her mom.
But whether or not you're lacking, it could be the richest young little
Parents,
girls
yeah.
with the richest parents, and they're still running around doing
And
the
they
same
still
thing.
doing
So
it.
sometimes it's not even what you're lacking. It's not about the parents. It's not about the family. It's just that mindset. What this kid is looking for, they think they're gonna find love from older men or any other person that's really just not gonna give it to them. That love does not come from those people. It does not.
Yeah. So me as a parent of a girl, I made sure I taught you how to drive first. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why I made sure. 'Cause I taught you how to drive when you was young, right? How old were you when I taught you how to drive?
13.
She was 13 when I taught her how to drive, right? And I did it on purpose because when I was like 14, I had a guy let me drive his car. He had a Mustang.
Oh, that's nice.
I ain't gonna lie. I was in Brooklyn on 2nd Avenue, like, thinking I was the shit, right? And as you were growing up, I was like, I'm not gonna let no nigga teach my daughter how to drive. And I don't want her to be impressed by no dude's car. So I made sure it was me who taught you how to drive early. And
See, I never knew that.
no, you didn't know that. You didn't know that. There's a lot of reasons why parents do some things that we do. We don't talk to you about it, right? So I'm glad that you are at this age now, and I could tell you some things that I couldn't probably tell you then,
Right.
right? But I also didn't want you to judge me. But I was a shorty outside. I've been outside since I was a shorty, and I didn't have guidance or parents that I didn't have nobody that loved me and cared about me. There's a difference, So I made sure, and because you didn't really have your dad present in your life, I felt like it's my job to make sure I teach her these things because I don't want no dude coming and impressing her with a fucking car.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you was like, Mom, I'm ready to get my car and everything, it's like, yeah, let's go get your car. And, like I made sure you got the car you wanted. You had your own bread, and I feel like I didn't never talk to you about working and stuff like that, but I feel like I instilled that in you because you always saw me on my grind.
Right.
And you never saw me like depend on a dude for anything. And that was another thing that I wanted to instill in you because, again, I didn't want you to be one of those girls who was impressed by anything a dude could give you, right? It'd be like, nah, I could get that from my mom.
Right.
So I always worked hard to do that. And I'm grateful that you have a good mindset, and I'm so proud of the young woman that you are.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Right? Because, some parents can't say that. You have a good job, you have your own place now, and you do have a healthy relationship with your boyfriend, who I also love very much.
Whom's car I was impressed by.
But you already had your own shit, right? So, it was just, I'm just happy that you're not one of these girls running around. But I had that fear, right? I had that fear. And like, I even remember the little stints of you, just doing little disappearing acts and shit. And I'm like, oh my God, please. Like, that was my biggest fear. I'm like, oh my God, what if she finds some guy to take care of her? What if she moved in with a guy? What if, I was like, my daughter's beautiful. What if she became a stripper? Like, all the worst thoughts that came to my mind, all the worst thoughts that could come to my mind came to my mind because I've been out in the streets and I've seen girls do some crazy shit. Right. And even though, like, I learned at a young age to make my own money so I didn't have to depend on no guy. And I hope that you saw that in me to where now you old enough and, I could say that I kind of graduated as a parent with you because it's like, like I finished. But I'm not finished. I'm never going to be finished. But like, I'm not worried about you. You have a foundation. You have a good job. You have a stable home. You got your own vehicle. You going to school. And you're just on the right track. And I'm so fucking proud. And I'm so fucking relieved. Okay? This is like...
She still has another one, okay?
Oh, my other one is off the hook. But let me focus on this one right now, okay? Let me focus on this one right now. The little one, I'm saving bail money. I'm saving bail money
That
for
part.
that one. So that is the end of our Spill the Kink, right? So bring it back to the current events. Fat Joe being sued for trafficking young girls, which makes me really sad because I am a hip hop fan and Fat Joe's from the Bronx like me, and I fucking love Fat Joe, and now I'm like disappointed in him that,
I mean, he's not the first one.
Or the
and
last.
He certainly will not be the last at all.
And I'ma still bump his music.
Don't
still
still
judge
bump
me.
Diddy's music.
I'm forever.
He got his hand in everything.
I'm forever a Bad Boy fan. It's my era. I'm from Brooklyn. Like, Brooklyn. So it's like, it's hard because you look at these artists, so you got to separate the art from the person.
Right.
right? Because I'm gonna still bump the music, Fat Joe. I still fucking love you, bro. Just find some women that's your age that you could vibe with mentally. I feel like men that date or people who date children have like a mental retardation
Well,
or something. Like you need to be around someone who's not smart or
that's the thing is that is that you're looking for these women because younger girls are not as strong minded as older women. So it's a lot easier for you to be like, go do this for me. I need this or I need this or shut up and be quiet. Throw some money at the situation. Whereas an older woman is not always gonna go for that, and that's why they look for younger girls because they're easier, and that's
to be
sad.
manipulated.
Yes,
So
they're
they're
very
easily
easy,
manipulated.
very easily manipulated.
All right, so we're gonna get into our 30-minute segment, and so now we're gonna get into the deep dive, right? Keith, throw up the deep dive, the dirty deep dive. Okay, so we're gonna talk about how avoiding the sex talk harms our daughters, right? And I'm I'm happy you haven't been harmed, but I'm sure you have some experiences that I don't know about. And I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Maybe if you need to talk about it, I'm here for it. But I don't really want to know the details, right? Just because you're my baby, right? So let me give you the mom's perspective, right? And I know that mom's watching, and or future moms and daughters, right? But as a mom, do you see how beautiful this girl is? She was like my beautiful little baby that I used to like hold and love. And, I still love her. And she's like this perfect little thing. When she was born and I would hold her and I'd be like, you're going to be the most beautiful, awesome young woman in the world. And, your name is Alani Sky because the sky's the limit. Because
Okay, all right.
you don't understand how obsessed I am with this beautiful baby girl that I have, right? And it's like, my baby's having sex? No, I can't handle it.
Well, it's not about you,
Well,
mom.
I know that. I know that.
Took you a while.
It's still, I'm still a work in fucking progress. I have issues letting go of my baby, right? Because it was this beautiful. You guys don't know how beautiful this little baby was, right? So it's like you're my beautiful little sacred girl, like so. Again. I'm gonna apologize again because I feel like I didn't give you that birds and the bees talk, right?
No,
Be-
you did not.
no, I did not. And one, I didn't know how. Two, my parents never had that conversation with me. Three, in all honesty, I didn't think you was there yet. I didn't think you were there yet. Like I thought you was a little more innocent than you probably were. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna put no ideas in her head. If she ain't asking me, I ain't telling. Right?
Well, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is because you were under the assumption you're my mom. You're
Mm-hmm.
not my friend. Like you always say, you're not one of my little
Mm-hmm.
friends.
I'm not one of your
So
little
I'm not
friends.
gonna, as a daughter, as any child, especially if you got a Hispanic mama or a black mama, you're not just gonna feel 100% comfortable to come to your parent like this. The same parent who will, and I'm sure y'all have probably heard it before, who will kick you out the house if you end up pregnant. Stuff like that. So you're not going to feel comfortable sharing that with your parents just because she's not one of your little friends. And so I personally feel like a conversation like that is not about whether or not you think I'm innocent or you think your child is innocent. A conversation like that is for you to to reassure yourself and to make sure that this information that's being given is given by you and to your child, how you want them to know of it, as how you want them to perceive it. Because if you take too long to have this kind of conversation with your kid, they're gonna find the information elsewhere. They're gonna, then especially in this world when a long time ago when you were young, I'm sure there was a lot of things going on. But especially in this world, by the time you turn 3 and somebody hands you an iPad, you never know what you can find. You never know what will be exposed to you.
So let me show you. Let me tell you what porn was like when I was a kid.
I
No, let me tell you.
was on DVD,
No, even
DVR.
before DVD, there was like this channel that you used to watch it, and it used to be like squiggly lines, and you would see like a nipple here and
Oh
like
my
a
God.
tongue there. It's like it was like these, like you had to like, it was like a mosaic.
Oh
It's like
my God.
and you had to like decipher what it was, the body parts and shit. So, or back then, men used to look at magazines. My dad used to look at magazines, and he would hide them in like his toolbox or under the bed. He had like a stack of them under in his corner on the side of the bed.
So, speaking of men,
Men,
for you, you thought I was more innocent than I knew. But when I was around 5 years old, this is when we still was with my dad had shelves, all kinds of shelves of DVDs of porn. And he just had DVD after DVD. And I was 5 years old, maybe younger. I remember watching Cat in the Hat. And the DVD. Cat in the Hat. Cat in the Hat. I would be watching Cat in the Hat, and the DVDs are on the shelf right next to the TV, just lining the wall. So if you want to talk about how
Yeah, your dad was-
innocent he was, crazy, okay?
Your dad was
But
crazy. I love you. You made a beautiful baby. You made a beautiful baby.
if you want to talk about how innocent you thought I was, at 5 years old, I knew what those DVDs were. I knew what they represented without an adult having to talk to me about them. With just seeing what was on the cover, I knew what that was. And then there's also kids walking into their parents at the wrong times when, they forget to lock the door.
So, daughter, since you always judging me, right, on what I didn't do and what I should do as a parent and blah blah blah, she always got an opinion, right? What do you think is the right age to have a sex talk with a kid?
5 years old.
5 years old.
Because-
She's not wrong though, because right now with technology, it's like it's there, it's out there everywhere.
It's
right?
there. Even YouTube Kids, like those things, they have like, you think they're watching videos of like Minecraft and stuff, and then the people who are doing the voiceovers are talking about all these kind of crazy things and just saying stuff, and it's everywhere. So I do think 5 years old is really a great time to have that kind of conversation, because it's the earliest age that you can give this information, and they're gonna perceive it how you tell it to them, because they're still so, you're my parent. You're
So you
the
think when
person
you're a
that they
parent,
trust.
when you and they're 5, your word is still gold.
Yeah, when you're a kid, your parents' word is still gold. If you decide to have this kind of conversation with your child once they hit the age of 12, 13, and they think they're grown and they got titties and they're bleeding and stuff, everything you say is going to be questioned. Like she said, I'm always questioning and criticizing.
Not titties and bleeding.
With that being said, I do think the age is 5. And there are nice
I would
ways.
have never been able to talk to you at 5 about
There
sex.
are books.
I would have never been able. Like, how do I talk to my 5-year-old? Because when you was 5, I still held you and cuddled you, and you was still my little baby. To talk to you about sex. Ah.
But it's just the truth. And I also think having conversations at that young age with your kids about sex is preventative. It's a preventative measure to, God forbid, if a guy tried to tell them a little secret or show them a little secret. Having that kind of conversation with your child at such a young age is a preventative measure to the dangers that they can be exposed to, and to all the lies and manipulations that they can be exposed to. So I think it's very important those conversations, as much as that's your little baby, and you want to protect them. And a conversation like that could save their lives a lot of the time, can help them walk
Absolutely.
away from a situation.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I had some conversations with you like, don't let nobody touch you.
I
If
don't
someone makes
recall.
you feel uncomfortable, let me know.
Well, yeah.
I was very protective of not really bringing too many men too close to you.
Hmm.
I was even, it was even hard for me to date or take anyone seriously because I didn't want to bring them around my kids.
Yeah, a
Right.
hundred
So I was
percent.
very protective about my daughters, you know. So for a long time I stayed a single parent and I didn't bring people into my real life. Like I would go see them, I would go visit them, I would go spend the night at their house or hotels and things like that. But I wouldn't want to bring them home because I didn't want I had that I was molested when I was 5 years old. So it's funny that you said 5 years old
Hmm.
because I was at that time, right? And because that happened to me, I was very protective of bringing guys around you.
Right.
Like I mean, I was very few guys ever came around you. Like how many guys lived with us your whole life besides your dad?
Like two.
They live with us?
No, one besides my dad.
Besides your dad, it was
Yeah,
just
one
Adina's
besides
dad,
my dad.
right?
Adina's dad. But I mean,
So I was protective I was protective of you because of that, and I feel like because of that reason, I never really established like a real relationship with anyone because you was just a jump off when I wasn't around my kids, and most of the time I try to make it home before my kids wake up. Right. So we're gonna do another episode on dating as a single parent because dating as a single parent is super tricky and super hard, right?
it is.
So that's gonna be a
I
whole
wouldn't
other.
know, but
You know, please. I hope you never become a single parent.
I
But
respect that though. I'm gonna let you finish, but I respect that you never brung guys around. But I would like to let you know that as a 5-year-old, I knew where you were going. And I knew what you were doing. And in my 5-year-old mind, I'm like, mommy's going to, have her mommy time and do what mommy wants to do without us. But, and we know those things. That's what I'm
that's all right. As long as you
saying.
don't have the visual and you don't have no guy in your space.
And that's why I respect it. Like that was the right way to go about it. But again, conversations like that, your kid has to know because they already know. They already know.
So yeah, right? Because the kids know more than we think they know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's the reality. The kids know more, especially now. Because I think at 5 years old, we knew what it was too. I remember when I was little, I'll tell you this funny story. I have two brothers. I'm the middle child. I'm the only girl, right? So if you wonder why I'm a little rough around the edges, because I grew up around all boys all the time, right? So one time we called my parents having sex, and they had like a blanket over them, and they were going to town. Like they didn't even realize we was watching them. It was me and my older brother, and we used to call it the Uchi Coochie. So my brother comes, he's like, "Yo, they doing the Uchi Coochie." And they didn't go in the town, and we started throwing shoes at them and shit. They didn't even know. They didn't even, they ignored us. Like they were in their own zone. They didn't know what the fuck was going on, and we there cracking up. It was kind of funny and silly to us, right? It was. I wasn't traumatized by it,
Right.
right? It was like my parents are doing the Uchi Coochie.
Right.
It was like we didn't even use the
Well,
word sex.
me catching you doing the Uchi Coochie never traumatized me neither.
Well, you was
It's
much older.
huh?
You was much older.
I was like, I remember Kathy was there one time
So that was when I was pregnant,
before you got pregnant.
like around that time.
Yeah, we both caught you doing the Uchi
You
Coochie.
did?
Yeah, we
Oh
did.
my God. They caught me doing the Uchi Coochie, guys. That should be a whole
It was
episode,
never
right? Your kids catching you
traumatizing.
having sex. But I mean, sex is like a natural, normal thing, right? So it
Yeah.
shouldn't be traumatizing. I mean, I don't want to see the visual of my parents having sex. They were covered in a blanket, so I didn't see like body parts or anything like that. So to us, it was like funny. Maybe if they had body parts, I'd probably be a little more traumatized. But I didn't. But I'm glad that I didn't traumatize you and ruin you for the rest of your life. And sometimes, listen, as parents, we be messing up, and the kids be fucking nosy, bro. They just be in our business. I probably thought she was sleeping, and and nosy ass kids. Don't even let me get my shit off. Fuck. Fucking kids. Dag nabbit. You know what I'm saying? Well, now she's, guys, listen, she's grown now. I could say that. Right? And I had a hard
I
time.
get it.
I had a hard time saying that stuff before. So my daughter knows that I live a non-traditional lifestyle, right? And one day she cornered me, not cornered me, she called me on the phone and she started asking me questions. You want to have a talk about that?
That was funny.
That was funny.
I was driving on my way home after work.
Random.
So I had already known about her lifestyle. I already known about what she was doing because I knew what she thought I didn't know. And I found out. And I did my own little research, my own little digging. I already knew what it was, but on her, I did my digging on her and what she's been up to.
Wait, what does that digging look like?
It's just Instagram
I'm
and
traumatized now.
Instagram
Oh,
and
you were checking
whatnot.
my Instagram. Okay.
But I had already known what that was. I knew and I asked her. I told her that I knew about it up front, and she told me, and that was that. But then one day I was driving home, and I was a little more curious for some reason. It was like the first conversation. I was like, I had the traumatized eyes. This was the first conversation that I ever really asked her any detail.
I feel like that was our first sex talk.
Yeah, that it wasn't. Yeah, we've had our fair share of like conversations where I'll just be like, "Mom, don't say that." But that was a conversation that I was
Yeah,
just.
because the dirty discussions with Doc is nothing new, guys. I've always had a potty mouth. I have a dirty mouth. She's heard me tell dirty jokes. Like, maybe not to her, but maybe talking to my friends on the phone or whatever. Kids are fucking nosy, right? So, I mean, especially daughters, they watch every little thing you do, every little thing you say. It's hard to keep anything from these little bitches, right? Sorry, I love my girls. I could call them that. But yeah, she called me and she started asking me, and I'm not gonna go into details about my sex life yet, right? But she started asking me questions, right? And it was like weird. So I'll let you go ahead. Why did you even ask me those
I
questions?
was waiting for you to say say what because I'm
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
whatever
You
you
can say
want to
it. You
say.
can take it there.
I was just curious about my mom's circle. So like
My circle.
yeah, that circle.
That
I had
circle.
already known there was a situation happening within her circle.
Oh.
Yeah, there was something happening within her circle, and I witnessed a little bit like because I was around her, so I
There was
seen
ear hustling,
ear hustling as I do.
listening to my
Um
conversations. That's
so
what all daughters do. Okay.
I was ear hustling and I was, just listening on the conversation. So when I got in my car, I was on my way home and I was just like, I'm curious. I want to know what happened. I want to know how it played out. Like, I'm nosy. I want to know. And I'm a homebody, okay? I read books. I wanted to know how that happened, okay? I need some tea. She need to give me the tea. I get my tea from other people, okay? So I asked her about the situation that she was telling me, and then I started asking her on her perspective and on the things that she does. Yeah,
So,
the things that she has done.
so I live a non-traditional lifestyle, right? And I am ethically non-monogamous, right? And the situation she's talking about was an important conversation to have because a girl was sexually assaulted at an event that I was a part of, right? And she heard me talking to other people about this girl's situation. And I guess it sparked an interest in her. It's like, oh, how'd that even happen anyway? Where were you at? Right? And she started asking me personal questions, and I was just so stuck. So like, you want to you want to tell the questions you asked?
Well, one of my questions
Let me
was
drink. This is the whiskey part. Good.
one of my questions was has she ever slept with a woman? I asked her if she's had, you know,
Threesomes.
threesomes.
I said yes.
Or even, she did say yes, and then I took it a step further and I asked her if she had
Foursomes.
yeah. And then I took it
And
a
I
step
said yes.
further. And I asked her if she had an orgy.
And I said, no, that's too many germs for me. That's too many germs for me. That's just way too much. A couple swap, okay. A whole full-blown orgy, not my thing. I don't judge. I know people who love them. Not my thing. But she caught me off guard when she's asking these questions. She's on the phone and she's like, Mom, so you ever had a threesome? I'm like,
I just kept going. It was like a speed round of questions. And I was like, well, are you a swinger? And she was like, well, I'm not. She said she isn't the person in the relationship. She's the third person.
No. I said I have been. I have been a unicorn.
Yes. I don't know the terms.
She doesn't know the terms, right? So she asked me if I had a threesome. Then she asked me about a foursome. She asked me about an orgy. She asked me if I like to watch people have sex.
I did.
And I said, yeah. Some people that I want to watch, I like to watch. She's like, so you're a voyeur? And I'm like, yeah. And now in the back of my head, I'm like, this little bitch did research. She knows terms, right? So then she's like, so Mom, are you a swinger? And I'm like, not necessarily. I'm more like swinger friendly. Right. So she's like, do you like watching people? You like watching people have sex? I was like, she's like, yeah. I'm like, you're a voyeur? I'm like, yeah. She's like, so do you have sex in front of people? And I'm like, yeah. I only with my partner because I don't like people to know my whole facts. So at the time I was in a relationship with the person I was in a relationship with. That was our thing. We like doing it in public. It was our thing. We like an audience. It's fun. I'm sorry. Good. So she asked me the fucking questions. I had to fucking answer it. She's like, I'm like, why are you asking me these things? And she's like, well, don't you have a podcast and stuff? Don't you be talking about sex? And I'm like, I talk about sex to millions, not millions, I'm lying. Maybe hundreds of women, right? Maybe 1,000 women, right? But talking about sex to my daughter is like, I could talk about sex to anybody, but to my daughter is like,
That was truly the first real sex conversation
and it got
had.
real.
It real fast.
But what made you so comfortable to ask me those things? One, because we was on the phone and not in person.
That part. But I'm also 20 years old now. You know, I'm still your baby, but I have my own house and I have my own partner.
Yes,
and
she does.
I do my own things. I have my car. I think there's a little more of a respect level now. Like you're always going to be my mother. I will always have that higher respect for you. But I think there's also, you've grown that respect for me as a young woman, as somebody who I hope who does her own things and who knows her own things. And I know a lot more things than you think I know. So I figured the first person I would go to talk about it would be my mom. And that's why you're supposed to have these conversations with your kids at a young age, because if you instill to them that they should be okay, if you're comfortable talking about it with your kids, they know that they're okay to come to you moving forward because you brung it up first. And I will always feel comfortable coming to you moving forward because you didn't bring it up first.
No, I didn't bring it up first. It was so fucking hard. It was so fucking hard. And I didn't think it was ready at that time. Right? So the cool thing about it was that you did mention that even though I lived this non-traditional lifestyle, you never knew about it.
Yes, because she did bring up that it was going on for a lot longer than I had known.
Because I've been living this lifestyle for about almost 10 years.
I will say that's the only thing I never knew about her. I knew everything.
Yeah.
I knew she liked to get down, but I didn't know about that. Okay. I didn't know about all that.
It wasn't for you to know, right? Because as a parent, I still have to be your parent, right? Because I'm not one of your little friends. I'm not one of your little friends.
I'm proud of love that. I am. But that you kept that away from me, that I didn't know about that. I respect it. Like that's really good.
Yeah, I did a really good job at keeping my sex life away from my children. Because I do believe that you can be a mom and you could be a career woman and you could be a sexual fucking diva, right? And have all these parts of you and it's all okay, right? My sex life didn't make me less of a mom. Right? My sex life doesn't make me less of a daughter. I've taken care of both of my parents. My sex life doesn't make me immoral, right?
Right.
My kids never miss no fucking meals. My kids live a actually very way more privileged life than I ever had. So, my sex life is my sex life. And it was private. I kept it away from my children because I always protected my kids. Right. And I still do. I'm still very protective of my kids. Now that you're older, I can have a little more freedom and leeway and talk some shit to you.
Can't wait till I turn 21.
Blow her fucking mind, right? But if she's gonna get the juice from anybody, or if anybody's gonna educate her and teach her, it has to be me, because it can't be nobody else, right? And I'm gonna give it to her. I'm gonna give it to her how it is. I'm gonna give it to her how I would like it to be for her, right? Because that's still my baby. That's still my baby, right? There's certain wishes that I have for her, right? And I'm gonna give it to her straight, because this world is fucking crazy, right? And I lived, I was a wild juvenile. Like, I lived a crazy ass life, and I protected my kids from a lot of it, most of it. I mean, but she knows who the fuck I am. She just don't know the details. Especially like the sexual details until now, because now she want to ask me if I'm a fucking voyeur and exhibitionist, and if I'm a madam, and if I'm a sub. So she's asking me these crazy questions, and she knows the damn terms and definitions. So what am I gonna do? Gonna lie to her? Should I lie to my daughter about who I am? I'm never gonna lie to my daughters about who I am.
No, I
Right?
don't think so.
If anybody's gonna give it to them, it's gonna be me. Right? So we have like 3 minutes left. What message do you want to give to parents about communicating with their children about sex, talking to their daughters or sons? Because we have to have the sex conversation with sons too. I can't talk about having a conversation with a son because I don't have a son. But the conversation still needs to be had. Right. So what's your closing message to to parents, period? And they can learn from my mistakes of not having the conversation with you, because I can honestly say that I didn't have it, and I'm just blessed that you just ended up having a good head on your shoulders. I didn't bring a lot of shit around you, so I want to say you learned some of the good stuff from me, right? You definitely got your work ethic from me. You saw me earn mine. You never see me depend on nobody, and that was important for me to instill in you. So I'm proud that it fucking worked, right? Because with the kids, you don't know. You could give your children a toolbox, and it's up to them to use the tools, right? So I'm glad that you've been using the tools, because for a moment I thought, I was like, oh my God, I probably lost my baby. But
I am a very private person.
she paid attention.
I don't talk that much. I just sit back and observe. I've always been very, very observant. So, and she's my mom. I just don't be telling her stuff. But she thinks I don't pay attention. I pay attention. I just don't tell her that I pay attention. She doesn't need to know that I'm paying attention all the time. Okay. But I do pay attention, and your kids do grasp onto more than you think that they're grasping onto, because we all pay attention. I think that it's very important for your children to know that. I think it's very important for your children to learn this information and get this information from you. To sum it up, they should always get this information from their parents, because they're always going to get the information whether you like it or not. Whenever they get it, it doesn't matter if they're 5 or 10. You can't hold it back for them once they get that information. So it's better that you give that information, put it in your golden light, in your parental words. you give them that information, because at the end of the day, they're going to respect it more coming from you, especially at a younger age, and learning it from you, than they are going to respect it when they get to the age when they're already doing their own stuff and they're like, I got it. I already know what I'm doing. You know? So I just think that at the end of the day, to sum it up, is very, very important to tell your kids when they're still young enough to have your words be a golden light to them, son or daughter. And
Isn't
tell
my
your
baby so
sons to
smart?
not get these little girls pregnant, okay? Tell
Oh
them
my
to
God,
wrap
I'm
it
so
up.
happy. When my daughter graduated high school with no babies, I was like,
I'm
yes!
still trying to pass 21 so I could pass her age, because she was 21 when she had me. So I'm still waiting.
So if you want a babysitter, I need like 5 more years, okay? So with that said, we're gonna start our last segment, right? This is Doc Izzy Uncensored. Right, this is where you ask Doc questions, and this is my favorite segment because this is where I get to connect with you people with my online family, and you guys get to ask me questions, and I get to give you my real opinions and thoughts about what's going on. Right, so the question I have is, how do I teach my daughter about pleasure without it sounding like I'm encouraging her to have sex? And it's weird that someone asked me that because that's the same reason why I didn't talk to my daughter about sex, because I didn't want to be the person to like encourage her to have sex, right? I feel like my daughter kind of answered that question, right? So I have a younger daughter now. She's 10, and I had the sex talk with her recently. And what I explained to her was, when boys are young, they talk to girls and it makes them look cool. And when the girls interact with them, it makes the girls look bad. Right. And I try to keep the conversation PG because she's still only 10. So I kept it not graphic, and I try to keep it relevant to issues they have now. So I let her know that when you text boys, any minute they could screenshot what you said, and in 5 minutes that message could be spread around your whole school or your whole town, right? If you send a boy a picture, in 5 minutes, that boy is going to show all his friends the picture because it makes him look cool and it makes you look bad, right? So I had that conversation with her. That conversation of, you're sacred and you're special. And then I reminded her that she has a family that holds her accountable. That, she has an older sister. She respects and loves her older sister. So I reminded her that her older sister will be very disappointed. That she's loved by people. She has her dad, she has her grandparents, she has cousins, she has uncles. And I'm like, these people will all be disappointed in you if you're out here doing stuff crazy, right? I let her know, like, you're a representation of your family. And with all of that, I even let her know that if she has any questions and she's curious about anything, she can always talk to mom. And the cool thing about it now is that she also has a big sister who's an adult-ish, right? But she's still young, so she may feel even more comfortable talking to her sister. And I'm even happy about it because I'm like, okay, go talk to your sister about that. I'll even call Alani and be like, yo, Alani, so what do you think I should do this? How you think I should handle this with your sister? Do you want to come and have a talk with your sister? And I kind of put her in my shoes. So what do you think I should do? Because, as a parent, we don't know all the freaking answers to things. And we're figuring it out as we go. Right? And it's important to have a support system. So it's cool because when you were little, I didn't have that. Right? I didn't have a person that I could go to for you. Mm-hmm. It was just me and you when you were coming up. Right? Adina, my other daughter, is lucky because she has me, but she also has you, right? She doesn't have just me. Lucky kid, right?
Well,
poor you. I feel bad for you. You just had me, right?
I mean, I had a similar conversation with Adina, with my sister. Right. But I could have that conversation with her in the perspective of a sibling. So, naturally she's going to be more comfortable with me and communicating with me because I'm not her parent. She still respects me, but she tells me a little bit more. And I still had the same conversation with her, but a lot more straight up, because I know her in a different way than you know her as the mom. But when I had that conversation with my 10-year-old sister, I told her that as a child, you need to understand how this works, and you need to understand how this works. And she has her period. So I told her, I was like, you get this because of this, and this is why this happens to you every month. And if you're not careful, this can also happen to you, and I explained that to her. And I also explained to her how that kind of thing can affect you moving forward. As you get older, you're always going to be seen in that light. Everybody knows everybody, especially where we live is a small town. Everyone knows everyone.
Shout out to Staten Island.
So I had the same kind of conversation with her, but I told her from a more serious way. And I think if answering that question, if you want to have that kind of conversation with your child without encouraging them, I told my sister, I was like, sex is transactional. Sometimes you're not always receiving pleasure, but
Wait. Sometimes you're not always receiving pleasure. Hold on. You should always receive pleasure when you're having sex.
no.
Hold on.
I agree.
We're going to start a whole other topic.
I agree. But as a 10-year-old, as a 10-year-old,
let me sip this whiskey.
Especially if you're getting taken advantage of by people, you are not going, it's transactional. And a lot of the times you're not the one getting paid. And as a young girl, that's how it is. I told her, I was like, and I would tell my child, I would tell any young child to try not to encourage them. When you do something like that, that person is taking a part of you and you're taking a part of them. And you may be taking the parts of that person's aura and soul and carrying with you that you don't want to carry. And they're taking the best parts of you as well that they don't deserve to have or they don't deserve to carry. Like that's straight up, that's exactly what I told her. I was like, they do not deserve to have that part of you. And every time you give that piece of you away, especially at such a young age, you are losing your value and you are losing your worth because you're not respecting who you are. And that's how I would tell it to my child or my sibling, to not encourage them to have sex, but to know what it really is, to know to wait till you have somebody you can respect. And things change when you get older, but as a young girl, that is very important. As a young man, that is very important, because the same for a man. You don't want to be just, flinging it around willy-nilly. You don't. You never know what can happen, and you should still have that kind of respect for
That
yourself.
dick is sacred too.
But that's my answer to that question.
Because guys, and I love how you put that, right? Just having sex, and I talk about sex, and I talk about freedom of sex and everything, but I'm still very selective on who I interact with. Sex is still very sacred to me. I still think my box is golden and everyone is not deserving of my box, right? I'm a treat. I am a treat for those, and you have to be deserving to get into my box, right? And I had that conversation to my daughter too, with Adina too. I was like, you're special and you are loved, and you're not for everybody. Everybody can't have what's exclusive. You have to stay exclusive. So even though I talk about all this sexual freedom and stuff, which I absolutely believe in, and it's my, the core of my being, I also believe in being very selective. I also don't agree with exchanging energies with people who are not deserving, or energies that I just don't want to absorb, right? Because sex is an exchange of energy. Right, and you're absorbing the person's energy, whoever it is that you're messing with. So please be selective on who you decide to interact with, right? Because sex for women and men is a little bit different. As a woman, we're allowing this person inside of our bodies, right? where they're coming inside of us, like, and sometimes dropping a load.
I was gonna say they're coming
They're
inside of you.
coming inside of you, right? Like sometimes they drop it a load in there. You know, it's like you're coming inside my body, my temple, right? So you have to protect your temple. And that was a conversation I had with my daughter, my younger daughter, that I didn't get to have with you. But it's like your body is a temple, and when you're allowing someone to touch your body or to enter your body, you know, they're coming into a sacred place.
Oh, thank God I
Right.
already knew that.
Right.
What's the
So
next
I'm glad that
question?
I learned from my mistake of not having the conversation with you, and I'm glad that you still turned out okay. Right. And I learned from my mistake, and this is why I'm having this conversation. I'm being open and transparent, because these sex talk, these dirty discussions, these real tough conversations need to be had, right? And not just amongst women and stuff, but also with our daughters, with our mothers, with our aunts, with our sisters, with just women that we just meet, right? These conversations need to be had. And there's no shame in having these conversations. So again, I created these podcasts so that we can have these taboo conversations that people are afraid of having, even myself, because like I told you before, I come from a very traditional family. My family is very Catholic, very married at 16. Your first boyfriend, you got to get married. You know, so very put up with your man shit forever, and the women stay home and the men work, and you know, very traditional. And I have those traditional morals. They were my upbringing and they're my values, but my outlook is still a little different, right? Because it's a little more modern and more non-traditional. But I still have those traditional values, right? So it's like I'm a combination of both. But with that said, I just want to remind you that silence does not protect our daughters.
No, it does not.
It leaves them unprepared. Okay, silence does not protect our daughters. It leaves them unprepared.
Like I said.
We need to talk early, talk real, and talk with love, so that they're not afraid to talk to us. Right? We have to come from a loving place. I try to instill in my daughters that if they come and talk to me about anything, no matter what it is, they kind of won't get punished. Right? Maybe stand 5 feet away so I can't.
I was gonna say.
Right? Maybe give me some
I don't
whiskey.
know about that.
Right? But talk to me about anything, because if you come and you talk to me and you're honest about stuff, I can get mad, I might get mad, but I'm still going to respect you and I'm still going to love you. And that's very important for me, for my daughters to know. I want to say that you are not just raising daughters, you're raising women who deserve truth, safety, and sacred connection. Right? So start the conversation, break these cycles, and let's raise some queens.
Yes.
With that said, you can follow me at on Instagram at doc_Izzy. Or you can follow me on Facebook at Doc Izzy. Or you can send me an email at dirtydiscussionswithdoc@gmail.com. Right? If you have any questions, is there anything that you want to talk about, any topics that you would like me to discuss? You know, bring it on. I'm open to conversations. I love hearing your thoughts. So if you watch this podcast and you have some thoughts, feel free to DM me or to email me and let me know what you think. I like the interaction. I like going back and forth. These dirty discussions are for everyone. They are for women, but I feel like men can learn a lot about the conversations that we're having, right? So watch it with your husband or your boyfriend or your mate, or guys, watch it with your girl, right? Just watch and learn something, take some notes. What do you think about me doing this podcast, Dirty Discussions?
Before I say that, fathers should be comfortable to have these kind of conversations with their kids too, especially from a man's perspective. That's always important. I do. I'm happy for you. You doing what you doing. You talking how you talk. I've always thought that you were I always said your gift. Whenever you will ask what your gift is, when I would say, "Oh, I could do this," and you would be like, "Oh, I'm not really that talented," I'd be like, "Mom, you talk to people." I've always said that. I've always said she's a talking kind of person. She gives advice, she mentors, she's good with people. Even though she says she's not, she is. That's what she does. And I think she needs to share her word. I think you need to share what you got going on
So
inside
you're
of
not
you.
like embarrassed that I'm having these taboo conversations
I
in
mean, it
public?
is weird seeing you. You popped up on my YouTube the other day.
That's because I
You
subscribed on
did.
your page.
Damn. I was like, what the hell?
Did you watch it?
What? I started it, but Adina was at the house and I had it on the TV.
Oh
And
yeah,
she
you can't
came.
watch it with a
She was
demon.
like, she came out the shower downstairs, and I was like, okay, I'll finish this later. Yeah. But I did start watching and I didn't finish because she was there. And it was a little traumatizing, like listening to you talk. I was just like, I don't really know.
And I tell you, that's how I feel about you.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, this is the end of episode 2. I want to thank you for all your support. I want to remind you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And don't be afraid to have dirty discussions. Woo!
Don't be afraid.